What's up, everyone? It's Esther and Zoe here, and welcome to Vision and Alchemy. Whether you're new to the path of self-discovery or you've been on this journey for a while, Esther and I are here to support and inspire you every step of the way. Buckle up, my friends, because we're about to embark on the adventure of a lifetime. Vision and Alchemy starts now.
Welcome back, my friends, to Vision and Alchemy. This is the second part of our two-part episode. So if you haven't heard the first one, just go back an episode. And if you have, welcome back.
So,
enjoy.
Yeah, as we've only been talking about this for 20 minutes or so, but I hope you guys can already see that there's so many layers to the trigger. And I'm not saying that from a place of hopelessness, like Pandora's box, you're never getting out of it sort of thing. But just trying to be an example of see how easily everything came. I understood everything as soon as I leaned into it. I was like, well, why do I feel? So one, I'm like, okay, I compared myself. Why would I compare myself? Like, you can literally poke holes in the logic of what your ego is trying to tell you, because your ego is not smart at all. It is. And I don't want to go too deep into this because we're going to do maybe even ego series because it's so big and deep. But that's where all of these spiritual practices come into play, because you start questioning yourself, and not from a confusing place. You're like, why would I think that? But until I actually leaned into it and kind of peeled back the layers that were there, I realized how pointless it was. And if I kept holding onto that story and feeling guilty and feeling triggered, and now in literally 20 minutes we've unraveled it and been like, oh my God, that is so pointless. What are you even worried about, Zoe? But it's been an interesting week because I've been so devoted to my healing and my spiritual practice for so long. And then in a moment where you're experiencing one of probably many spiritual awakenings, by the way, they happen in waves, not just for Esther, through everyone, you will constantly be working at it, and you might have little upgrades every now and again. And then you'll have these big cathartic experiences. But it was just really interesting in I've been very devoted for a very long time and experienced the benefits of it for sure. But then in this time where life seems to be pushing me back out to just be more human and play and ground and have one foot on this earth, you're having this huge experience. And it's bringing it to the surface for me to let go of that guilt that I don't need to be micromanaging my spiritual experience all the time. Because by what you said to me on Saturday, by going and having fun at this festival, that is also raising my vibration. Yes. I don't need to be meditating and then, which I actually still freaking did, by the way. I went out into the world. I went out into the world, and it was such a cool test run of okay, so you've gone within, a good chunk of time, you've been in your hermit mode, now you're coming back out. How is this experience going to be very different? And it was literally in the past, I would have gone to Splendor. I would have woken up and cracked a beer in the shower, drinking literally from 8 a.m. out to going. Whereas this time round on Saturday, I only went for 2 days, so Saturday and Sunday. I woke up, did my devotion, pulled my cards, Palo Santo, did a meditation, jumped in the spa, did a stretch and everything, full wholesome experience. And then again on the Sunday, even though I'd been out on the Saturday, got home at some ungodly hour, I still woke up and did my practices and everything.
So I'm literally a queen. You got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. But you know how hard I am on myself, and it's something that I'm slowly trying to dissolve, because I'm going to have fun as part of the process. And I still was devoted to my practices,
Yeah, you were. And on the whole being hard on yourself thing, I think it's just because you know what you're capable of, and you know that what you're capable of is huge. And I think it's just that matter of having that loving patience and compassion for yourself and everything. And also coming back to present, coming back in, and you just did, you were able to identify oh, I was actually doing all of these amazing things. But imagine feeling that in the moment too, and being I'm so proud of myself right now. Your vibration would be even higher.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to mention one more thing about the trigger, and then I've got a question to ask you. But another part of me unraveling how stupid it was to feel because you are having a deep connection spiritually right now, which is quite effortless, and then mine wouldn't be there, is this illusion of separation. I am not separate from any other living being, anything that has universal energy in it, nature, people, everything. And so that's a trigger for a lot of people, like a lot of like that isolation and that separation. Why would I entertain the story for a second that I am not deeply connected at all times? Do you know what I mean? Like, our connection to the spiritual world is our decision and our discretion. Oh, probably not our discretion. Like, there's definitely times where things are being interwoven in the background there. Like, it's not always in our control. But why would I for a second entertain the idea that I am separate from everything, from the universe, the universal energy, you know?
Yeah, I have whole body chills as you were saying that. I was just like, holy, 100%. That's exactly it. Like, when you were talking before, I was thinking about how, like, you going out and dancing and having fun and raising the vibration, you know, is part of all of it. And also, like, there not being any need for lack, because basically, like, where we need to go as a human species is toward that collective consciousness. Like, we need to kind of adapt to more of like an ant-like mentality. Like, we're not separate from each other. We're all part of the same mission, the same goal. We just effortlessly work together. We want the ant behind us or whatever to do just as well as the ant in front of us and ourselves as well. Like, we're all part of the same thing. And we need to raise our frequency a lot higher to be able to feel that connection, to see that connection. And it's in literally every single one of us. Everything, like, that life force is in all of us. So if you ever feel like, oh, this person's got this and I don't, it's like, you do. It's just your time for unlocking it will come, or you already have unlocked it and you just haven't identified it because you're judging yourself or your ego is getting in the way, making you doubt, that kind of thing. Like, but it's so strong in all of us.
Yeah. And I suppose as well, by feeling that trigger, if anyone is feeling a trigger, like a tall poppy's trigger or anything, and like the tall poppy's trigger literally was just victimhood mentality as well, which we've already touched on. But if anyone ever feels that, I just want to give you plant a little seed for, firstly, if you feel that, please be so kind to yourself. Be so kind to yourself and be really compassionate, because if you add layers of guilt and shame on top of that feeling, you actually will be in Pandora's box of like emotional agility and intelligence, you know? So as soon as you feel that, send yourself some love, be kind to yourself and be like, and get curious, you know? Be like, why am I feeling like this? And then the second thing would be to, if you feel that trigger, is to realize that you are operating from your ego when you feel like that. Because at no point when I felt like that did I didn't feel any negativity towards Esther. It was like self-loathing, like an opportunity for me to spiral down into self-loathing of like, well, of course your spiritual connection isn't good because you're distracting, you're going out and have fun, and how stupid are you? And like, you know, but I caught myself at the top of that spiral. So I was in my ego, but I realized it, and then I moved back to my heart space. So if you're ever feeling that trigger, just know, like, okay, I'm in my ego. I'm going to feel self-compassion about that and support myself through this, and I'm going to move back to my heart space. And as soon as I moved that tiny little ego out of the way, I was like, look at her go. Oh my God. Like I said, there's been no point where I felt a negative emotion towards Esther. It was more her experience triggering a negative experience with my relationship with myself. Layers.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it is so, I feel lighter in my body as I can switch back and forth right now, like within me, being like, okay, this is how I feel in my ego. Ugh. And then I can move to my heart space and be like, like, I just feel so much love. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for you. Thanks for inspiring me. Thanks for setting an example of what's possible, you know? Thanks for sitting in the fire and waiting for long enough for something to change. You know what I mean? And you've had to move through all of your self-doubt and fear around this. And that kind of leads me to my question for you, because I've told you that I was experiencing some form of tall poppies towards your spiritual development. And I know that you have struggled with accepting and exercising, shining your light bright. So how are you feeling about me saying all of this, and how have you felt like kind of riding this spiritual journey by yourself at the moment? Because I haven't been able to be there.
So first of all, thank you. I was like, when you were saying all that, then I was like, oh my God, that is the most beautiful thing in the entire world. And thank you.
And mind you, I'm not like trying to give myself a pat on the back, but like I have been like saying this to Esther throughout the whole thing too. But then it's like I said, I kept switching back into this ego and I couldn't like sustain it. You know what I mean? But it wasn't that when I was saying these things to her, it wasn't authentic, but I would like hold that vibration and then I'd kind of slip down into another one. And yeah, so
yeah.
Yeah.
So anytime, I was saying to Zoe earlier in a voice message, like when she first said that she was going to talk about this stuff, I was like, this is so incredible. I was so excited. But I was also like, I already knew, like I had sensed that, but I never thought for a second like, oh, I need to intervene with this and say anything about it. I don't think I need to like help her through it. I don't think I need to feel any way about it. I just knew I needed to like try and pull back a little bit and give her a bit of space, because I feel like everything that's happened to me lately, I could honestly just put it into a freight train and like accidentally just roll her over because I just want to be like, la, 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 la. But I sensed it, but she was so authentically as well, like, celebrating and helping me unlock things and being like, like you didn't ask for my advice on this, but I think this and this. And I was like, oh my God, like I literally always want your advice and never stop giving it to me. Like, this is why I come here. Help me. So she was still like, even though she was grappling, stepping in and out of heart space and everything, still able to be in that heart space with me, even though if she, like, as soon as she was finished giving me her heart in that moment, even like, and maybe her ego jumped back behind the wheel for a second or whatever, like she was still able to be such a beautiful, gracious friend. And like, I just feel like I sensed the thing, but didn't have any like fear or anything about it, because like I just trust her so much as a person. Like, she's just incredible. And then I was also feeling like, so we help each other a lot through things. Like, I don't want it to sound like I just like dump my entire life on Zoe, but I do worry sometimes that I let like too much out, not as in like it's not like letting too much out. It's more like I don't want to drown her in my things, like whether it's excitement, energy, information. Like, I just feel like I have so much of everything that I'm always trying to just shrink down to be digestible for people. And Zoe's like always like, oh my God, literally be yourself. I don't care. It's amazing. And I'm like, okay. So one of my lessons, I guess, going through all the stuff I've been going through, and Zoe being like out and having fun at like Splendor and everything. Like, at the time I was like, hey, like be out, have fun, raise the vibration around you. Like, this is all part of it. Don't know why right now, but like, let's not stress. Like, it's all fine. And like, there were moments where there's more things I haven't even told you yet. Like, I'm just like waiting to be able to go, blah, blah, blah.
I've still got a few more voice messages to listen to from yesterday, and there's probably more as well. But yeah, it's just so interesting because I'm usually so available for Esther, and then it's almost like her guides or our guides or whatever kind of pushed me out of the way a little bit, so that you had to learn to stand on your own 2 feet as well. Yeah,
legit. And I've been like scared and excited. I've been inspired and empowered and also insane feeling, like I said before. So like there's just this like constant self-reminder coming through of like, just trust yourself. Sit with yourself in this. You're not going to be able to be super excited and tell everyone every single thing that's ever happened forever and ever. There's going to be times when you actually just can't do that, not because you're not supposed to, but because you're just like, maybe I'm somewhere doing something else and everyone's busy or whatever. Like, it was just this little like, get used to being able to do this for yourself on your own. Sometimes the community and the people around you are there as well. So it's not like to say that I need to do it without everyone. I think I really do need everyone.
Yeah.
And we all need each other. Like, there's just such a beautiful group of women. They don't like, it's not like a group like everyone knows each other. It's just like, I know a pile of different people in all different walks of life right now that are, some I've known for a long time, some I've met literally this week, like, and everything in between. And everyone's sort of just like coming together on this same path, coming towards the same central situation, the same goal and everything. And everyone has their own like part to play. Everyone has their own role. Everyone has like something that everyone else will need. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're all just like pieces of this really big puzzle or something, and all the pieces are coming a bit closer together. And it feels like for my journey, a lot of those people hold pieces to my puzzle as well that I need. And it's like everyone's been helping me unlock these things, and it's just the most incredible thing. And I'm so like endlessly grateful for the support that I've had from all of you and the encouragement and the love. And it's just like, it's like my fear is like telling me that like this isn't happening or whatever. And then my higher self will jump in and be like, can you look at the gifts that all of your friends are giving you right now? Like not physical gifts, like verbal, just confirmation about things. It's like it's so crazy. So yeah, I just feel like there's a lot going on, a lot that I'm grappling with, and I do need to learn to just trust everything, trust myself, know that I can walk through it and not feel like I need Zoe to hold my hand so much. And like, it's not like she does. It's like it's been a balanced friendship, but the way I feel, like I feel such comfort in Zoe, and I feel like she's my guide. I feel like she has been able to help me unlock so much of this stuff so far, just herself. Like, so I guess like going into this stuff that I'm going into now, it's like she's going to be going through her own shit as well and can't show me literally everything. And yeah, it was that fork, I think, was for many reasons. I think you were definitely supposed to be out vibing with people and recharging, and I was definitely supposed to be more insular and going through all of that stuff. And I was definitely supposed to not have access to you to have to process that and realize that. And I think you were definitely supposed to have that trigger to be able to talk about this because like that's such an important thing. Like people are going to be way more connected and way more vulnerable with each other. And we are going to be able to raise our collective frequency when we can communicate honestly like you did today. Like that is such an important part of the puzzle. So yeah, just all is happening.
I know there's so many lessons in it. And then I was voice messaging Esther before this when we were like, getting ready for the episode. And I was like, oh my God, like it's actually for both of our experiences and both sides of this coin is just a lesson and an opportunity to learn to trust ourselves more. Yeah. And for Esther, it's to learn to trust her gifts and her ability and her connection. Oh, and for me too. Like, you know what I mean? Like trust that all of my hard work is still there, or, you know, I don't want to label your spiritual connection as hard work as well. Like just purely by being you are worthy, you know, and you have the ability to connect sort of thing. So I think and again, that could be some like toxic productivity conditioning coming in where I think I need to like micromanage my spiritual connection every day, but it doesn't happen like that. Like I've watched movies and read books where people are like, I just was walking down the street. I didn't even know what a spirit was or what energy was. And then I had this full blown spiritual awakening. Like I don't want to be setting that example that like, obviously hard work and devotion and consistency is important, but it doesn't happen like that. I think I'm learning a lesson in like, like every single card, like energy card I pull lately is like chill, trust, surrender, wait. And I'm like, but what can I do while I'm waiting? Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, just learn your lessons.
So funny.
So yeah, I was like, even though we've had this little fork in the road with our experiences, it's actually was still the same lesson of like learning to trust yourself. So, and I just wanted to touch on if anyone has been in Esther's position where someone has like, they may like consciously share a trigger of poppy syndrome, or they might not be so aware and they might project that poppy syndrome onto you. I want to encourage you to not shrink when that happens and be like Esther, basically, is that she has been able to be so gentle with me, knowing that even though I couldn't directly say it yet, and it wasn't, like I said, it was a little bit of unawareness, but like genuinely, I've just been so busy, I haven't had a chance to stop and be like, why am I feeling like this? But Esther and I are so connected, so she could feel that something was off, but just to be so compassionate and genuine and gentle with me while still continuing to grow tall as a poppy. You know what I mean? Like, so if anyone else is in this situation, don't shrink just because someone says like, oh, listen, like your success is kind of a trigger for me. Again, it's a shame and a guilt thing. Don't feel into those low vibrations. So it's important for someone that feels triggered by the tall poppies, don't feel guilt and shame about that. or if someone has projected or mentioned a feeling of comparison or competitiveness to you and your success or particular things in your life, also you need to be self-compassionate and not feel guilt or shame, because Esther's been able to just still have complete enthusiasm and excitement for her journey while being really gentle and gracious with me, knowing that like my foundation was a little bit rocky, even though we hadn't had the direct conversation yet, but just energetically she could feel like she's not super like sustainable in her heart space right now, sort of thing. So yeah, I just wanted to give that little bit of advice for anyone that's on the other end of the tall poppy syndrome and you have this amazing achievement and you go to tell someone and it doesn't land for them. Don't shrink, but also don't feel resentment towards that person. You just have to send them love, like more love than they've ever needed in that moment, because they're really struggling. Totally. Yeah.
Yes. It made me think of like, I 100% agree. And it made me think when you were saying that, this like visual came in my mind of if someone was to say to you like, hey, this thing that you're going through is triggering me, you can honestly just like offer out your hand and be like, cool, come with me. You can join me on this. You know what I mean? And not everyone will be receptive to that. Not everyone will want to go on that journey yet. You can't help everybody, but there will be a lot of people who are like, hey, thanks. Like, I will, you know what I mean? So it's really nice to, I guess, like help people kind of get to that thing that they want. They're noticing that. They're noticing that mirror. They're noticing that reflection. They want the thing. It's in store for them. You can help them rise to it by just like putting out your hand and being like, hey, I get that you feel that way.
Yeah.
No worries. Like, don't beat yourself up about it. Come join me in the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's it's just so important to have these kind of relationships around you. So if you're listening to this episode and you're like, oh my God, there's literally no one around me that I could probably successfully have this conversation with, probably coming off the back of our conversation of like the company you keep, they're probably not the ones to be keeping super close in your trusted circle. And it's not about like, cutting everyone out, but it is your power and your discernment who you want to share these journeys with. And if you're sitting here listening to what Esther and I have just gone through and being like, that is so foreign to me, it's probably time to start looking at who else and where else you could invest your time and your vulnerability and everything like that. Because I feel like this is the way like a conscious relationship should navigate. And there's not been one moment of animosity, even though we've been in our internal things of like learning to trust ourselves, and me, I suppose, moving through self-doubt, and probably yourself as well, Esther, being like, no, like as if, and because you said to me, you're like, you had this little moment of doubt the other week and you're like, who am I to channel all of this stuff? And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, of course you're such a worthy candidate to have all of this information, because all of us are literally just by being here on this earth, we are worthy of what you were having access to. So literally, we were both moving through self-doubt and trust.
It's like human Esther still has the self-doubt, and higher self Esther, like my higher self is like able to channel all the stuff, feeling more and more confident every day, like all of that. But the self-doubt, like the human me is so scared, doubting so much all the time.
Yeah, so, exactly. But the only way to move through the doubt is like, you might get a download or feel some ringing in your ears. And of course we're going to experience doubt and fear, but the only way that goes away is just by like getting curious and daring yourself to trust it. And then you'll say that thing like a download's coming, like, tell her this. And then you do. And she's like, wow, that's amazing. You're like, oh, cool. That's 1 point for self-confidence and one less point taken away from self-doubt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not this aha moment where it's a destination again, like, I am so confident. And I said to Esther, I was like, even when we're like the freaking Oprahs of the spiritual world, even that when we're so much more solid in our ability to be of service to the world, I'm still going to hit so many roadblocks and so much imposter syndrome and so much doubt, because it's a constant development. You know what I mean?
I think that's just going to be part of the journey of living with your human self.
Yeah. It's like how to integrate the both, how to get them like hold hands and be like, cool, you know? Yeah.
And what you were saying before about, if you don't feel like you have a friendship like this where you can do this kind of thing, like I think something that it might just sound so silly, but just call in the friendships, like literally ask the universe to create space in your life for new friendships to come in and to call those friendships in, and open your heart a little bit. If you don't do very well with situations that make you feel uncomfortable, not bad situations, I mean, maybe you just don't like stepping out of your comfort zone. Maybe now is a time to start practicing stepping out of your comfort zone and just like building up that resilience to go out into the world and meet new people and know that you could say hi to a stranger and you're not going to fucking just drop dead, you know, like there's nothing to be actually scared of. You're going to bring a beautiful new circle into your life, and you just need to start calling it in, to start wanting it, realize it's there, and open your heart to it.
I also want to share what I did as well, because I've literally just gone through like probably a solid 2 years of not feeling like I belong. And because I moved away from the Gold Coast, which is where I met Esther, and, you know, basically started my experience in a new community, and moved in COVID too. So it's like a solid year of like, we were, you know, not going near each other, etc. And oh man, it's been a really tough time, and I felt really lonely and really isolated, but realized that was a lot of my inner stuff. So, you know, that those external triggers are usually just an opportunity to go within and learn how to belong within yourself and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I'm just trying to give a backstory of like what I was doing now, to the point where I feel so solid in my community and so connected. I'm trying not to cry. I'm like, oh my God.
You can cry, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. As I would always ask my guides and set that intention out there. But I would also go down to like the local areas. Like I live at the beach here, and I would go down and connect with nature, because Mother Nature is always going to be there for you. She's always going to hold you. Like, when was the last time you just laid on the ground and really connected with how held you felt, like on the sand or whatever it is? But Mother Nature will always be there for you. And I started talking to, I suppose, Mother Nature, the land. And I was just like, please help me. If I'm meant to be here, please help me find my community, like of my human beings, you know. But in the meantime, I just had to spend a lot of time alone in nature to realize like the feeling of belonging that I was looking for is not conditional. It's unconditional. So I was looking for particular conditions, like, oh, but no, when I get this particular community and I have this type of share house and this kind of this and that, then I'll feel better. But just going out to nature and leaning into the discomfort of that isolation, I was like, oh my God, that feeling of belonging is actually just our given right being here on earth. And I just needed to ask nature and Mother Earth, or the land spirits or elders, traditional land owners, whoever I was talking to. But I was just like, please send me people, like send me people that will help me sustain this feeling of belonging that I initially had to find by myself. Like otherwise it would have been conditional, situations, and it would have just been not sustainable. So that's another little tip. If you are looking to call in that community, ask your guides, but also start connecting with the land, because you can feel held and like you belong before another human being's even like near you.
That is such great advice. I back that 100%. And like, it sounds like you really found the belonging in yourself first, and also let go of trying to control the outcome of what that community would look like.
Yeah.
So like, you can, I think with like you, so you've manifested your community that you have now, and it's just so perfect for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the steps that are kind of happening are just like, every time you talk about it, you're like, oh my God, and this, and it's so in line for exactly what you want. And I think with manifesting, like, people talk about being really specific about it, but that, like, yes, but not in the sense of trying to literally control exactly what you get and what that looks like, because sometimes like that's not really meant for your path, or, you will learn some lessons, but you're kind of just going to make yourself take a bit more time than required to get to where you actually want to go. Whereas if you are specific about the feeling that you want to have and how you want to feel when you're doing the thing, rather than controlling the outcome, you're going to get exactly what's right for you and for your purpose and your path and everything a lot faster, and it will feel a lot more right. Because, I've manifested things in life before where I've been like, I wanted this, but I don't belong. I'm trying to change myself to fit into the thing. And it's like, because, like when you're a strong manifester and stuff, you can call all kinds of things in, like good or bad, do you know what I mean? And the universe is always trying to communicate with you. And maybe the universe was trying to say to me, like with things I've manifested, like, hey, Esther, like maybe don't like put your focus so heavily there, or don't try and control the outcome so much with that. And like, okay, you're not listening. You're going to have to learn the fucking hard way. Yeah. And then you do. You learn. And you're like, oh.
And
so one of the...
I'm just like picturing your guides like above you with like a nail file, like, oh, here she goes again. Like, how many times have we told her? How many times? You know what I mean?
Literally.
You're like walking into the fire, like, la, 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 la. And we're just like, they just throw the mic away. They're like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like,
so true. Oh my God, funny.
I feel like we're kind of molding into a manifestation episode, which I feel like will probably be another series as well. There'll be multiple episodes, but basically if you're looking to call in a community of people that can help you have these kind of conversations that Esther and I have had, where we're quite vulnerable and we can hold each other quite well. And I've felt completely safe. My nervous system has been completely regulated throughout this entire conversation, even though I've had to kind of show those parts of ourselves I think we're conditioned to hide. Like, ooh, that's an ugly emotion, Zoe. Ooh, you're feeling jealous of your friend. Ooh, you're feeling left behind. Like, but it's like I've felt so supported throughout this whole conversation. So if you're looking for that, it's not about going out and finding the friendships that you think that will help you. It's about fostering that feeling of safety and belonging and then letting life reflect it to you. Because that is manifestation. Yeah. And that's what it's doing now, because I've done that inner work and now everyone's coming out of the woodwork. And it's so annoying because, and it's not annoying, it's a bit of a karmic joke, but all I wanted to do was belong. And then I realized as soon as you flick that switch of like, how about I just like speak my truth and stand out, I've never felt like I belong more.
Right.
That's like the cosmic joke. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, but that's why we've created this podcast, because we're like, guys, like you have to walk your own path. You have to do that inner work. And actually, I didn't know who Zoe was when I was looking for that belonging in those people. I had no idea who I was. And I had to really just sit with myself and be like, oh, I kind of really like myself. Like this is cool. Oh, look at this little layer of me on. Oh, look, that's a little bit of an icky one. But if I shine some light on it, it'll like, I'll turn it, I'll shift that.
Yes.
And yeah, that's like the whole reason we've started this podcast is because like Esther and I have learned the wrong way to like, oh, if I go out and get this job or get these friends or whatever, I'll be happy. And it doesn't last. Like you have to go within and then pivot onto your own path, and then everything just floats in.
Oh my God, you just made a thing that happened last night make sense.
Sorry, I had to laugh into the mic.
This visual just came so strong. It was like punched me in the brain or something. So just then when you were saying that, I was picturing the light, like a gold light coming like from like above or wherever into your heart and then up out of your head into the rest of the world. And like to me, that gold light is like you sort of like finding yourself and your power and belonging and being at one in yourself before then like, projecting who you are out, speaking your truth, calling everything in that you need and everything like that. And last night I was in another meditation and I just like I had these like, old body tingles going on, and I could feel like the top of my head and everything. And I could just feel like this pulsing here. And it's like I could feel this light sort of like coming in and down through my head and everything. But then it was like I just like flipped it or something. And it was like actually coming in through my heart and then up out of my head. And then I had this like big drive to like point my chest towards my window because I have water just outside my window. And like I like just sort of slowly turned my chest that way. And then I just saw like this like light fucking exploding out of my heart into the water. And as soon as it got near the water, it just went psh and like turned into all these little like fragmented bits of light and everything to be carried through the water to everyone. And it was like I was sending like love and healing and everything out. And I feel like I wouldn't have gotten to a place where that would even be shown to me in a meditation or whatever without having spent that time in myself, loving myself, trusting myself, like developing that relationship instead of looking for belonging in other people, because you won't find it there.
Yeah, because our heart really is the portal. And I feel like I intellectually know that, but it's like intelligence versus knowing, and I'm leaning more into the knowing because every time I'm like, oh, actually I'll just go back to my heart space. I'm like, oh, there it is. That's the access. That's the portal sort of thing. So, yeah.
Also, when you were talking before about you said, like talking about all this stuff on the podcast and being like, oh, that would be normally an emotion or whatever that you would want to hide away from people or whatever, but actually just, having the balls to put it out there. Like, I just think that's so important because it's embracing all aspects of being a human. And that is very, very important for us because so many people have like addiction and all kinds of things where they're just trying not to see those parts of themselves or, like there's just so much shying away from who we are and from each other. And it's like, even if you're in a shitty relationship with someone, you try and shy away from those parts about who they are too, because you just want to be like, no. I'm just going to look at the good bits, but I'm also like really unhappy and things are going really badly, but I'm just going to like, but I feel good sometimes with this person. But like, no, if we get better at shining the light on the shitty parts of ourselves and of other people, but not in a place of like, fuck you, in a place of like understanding, like we talked about in another episode, and having that compassion and just that like space to be a fucking human. Hey, like humans are so imperfect by nature. We grapple with ourselves more than other animals don't seem to do that. You know what I mean? Like that's our whole thing, just grappling with our own shit. And I think just putting the light on it like you did today is so, so necessary. Like we need to do this more. You've inspired the shit out of me. Like I always do that with myself, but I don't verbalize it so much until I've resolved it. Like I resolve it, then I can verbalize it.
Yeah.
But you verbalized it in the midst of the resolution to then resolve it together kind of thing. And then, like that taught me about myself as well, listening to you talk about yourself. And it was just like this, it felt so, so important. And I'm so happy. Like, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you just can't you can't just cherry pick the parts of yourself that you want to be on your journey. Like your spiritual development and your self-discovery process is literally a journey back to wholeness. So, I felt vulnerable coming on here and being like, oh, people could listen and be like, oh my God, Zoe, you're dragging your friend down because you feel jealous. But I was like, yeah, that's a part of me. That's what I was experiencing. That was my ego. That was my inner child. But by bringing it to the surface and not like hiding it away and feeling shame and guilt about it, I've been able to alchemize it and transmute it. And now I'm like, oh no, that wasn't actually me. That's just an experience. But just giving you guys that self-awareness, like you can't cherry pick the parts of yourself that you really love and then keep pushing the ones that make you feel guilt and shame and fear and scared and everything. Like, oh shit, like there's my lazy tendency coming out or there's my jealousy coming out. You like, again, I suppose it's that theme of lean into the discomfort. Why are you feeling triggered by this or that? And that is true alchemy for me, like emotional alchemy, being like, I feel like this and I'm not going to push it down and distract myself. I'm going to lean into it and be vulnerable. And I've been lucky enough to like not have to work this out by myself. Sometimes you'll feel intuitively like, no, I actually need to go within and do this work for myself. But I think that's an intuitive lesson, what Esther and I are always saying, like you just need to trust yourself. And Esther was talking about like, oh yeah, I was sometimes having like this spiritual experience, but you'll kind of learn like, this is something I need to share with people. Or, oh no, actually that one was just for me. Whereas today I was feeling really cool when I was digesting like, okay, what are we going to do in this episode? I was like, okay, this isn't just for me. And I hope that it has provided some form of magic or medicine for everyone that's listened today, because we don't need to keep showing up as the best versions of ourselves just to be accepted and exist in society, because it's just, it's not right, So I'm just so grateful that I've had Esther here today to just hold me so gently and graciously and just be like, yeah, I see you as you are right now and let's help you get out of that little trench,
Oh yeah, I love you so much.
Well, guys, if you've made it to this point, we thank you again so much for tuning in. This is honestly just such a delight and a journey for us and really therapeutic. Like I feel like a completely different person now. I'm like, cool. I like own my shit and we work through it. And Esther and I are just closer than ever now. And I feel closer to my connection to the universe and all of the things that I was feeling separated from because my ego was coming in and blocking it. I'm like, oh, like you can just open the door and just like walk through.
Love that so much. I just want to scream this episode from the rooftops.
Yeah. We hope you're enjoying what we are creating, because we are definitely enjoying creating it.
Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. And don't forget, if you have something you want to say or share, just send us a voice message to visionandalchemy@gmail.com. And our socials are in the show notes.
Yay, guys, we love you. We'll see you on episode 6 real soon.
Yay. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Vision and Alchemy. If this episode resonated with you, we'd love you to share it with a friend. Your support means everything to us. If you'd like to subscribe to our journey, follow us at Vision and Alchemy on socials, and we'll see you next time.